Hi listeners, I'm Anna Kaszycki, world champion rower with 3 international degrees and now youth mentor and coach. This is the Aspire Beyond Greatness podcast, where I share inspiring individual stories to empower you to achieve your goals and future life pursuits. If you enjoyed the podcast today, please leave a 5-star review on iTunes. Have a great day, and remember, go after what you want. Welcome to the Aspire Beyond Greatness podcast. Today we have a very special guest, Ross Walter. Thanks for joining us today, Ross.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. And to give our audience some background about Ross, he is a clinical nutritionist and naturopath. I'm really excited to hear about his journey today. All right. So to kick us off, I would love to kind of hear a little bit more about what advice would you give to your 14-year-old self if you could think back to that time in your life?
I was a very different person back then. I was extremely self-conscious about lots of things. I was extremely introverted and quiet and shy, and that's a very different me now. So it took me a long time to really come out of my shell, I guess. And there's a lot of reasons or circumstances, I guess, for that. Perhaps why I was, but we'll see if you want to go into that later. But and it took a long time for me to come out of that shell I was in, and I was extremely introverted. I guess life has funny ways of pushing you to down paths that you perhaps really need to go down. I wish I was. I wish I did things and did sort of get out of my comfort zone a lot earlier in my life than leaving it until I was perhaps in my late 20s to early 30s, actually, when things really started to change. And what really did help me come out of that comfort zone was I decided to leave my work that I was at the time on the Gold Coast in Queensland, and decided to have a journey, I guess. I decided to go find out where my parents grew up and go and live and work in the UK initially for a year and travel and things like that you do when you're a little bit younger. You tend to go and do these things, but I was just too introverted, too shy to consider doing that earlier. But I left on my own, didn't have anywhere to go, didn't have anywhere to stay other than a hotel for the first couple of nights when I planned for like at least a year away. And so it really gave me a lot of confidence, to do lots and lots of things. And to sort of trust the world and the universe, I guess, that it will help you when you go and do things like this. When you are pushing yourself, they are for a good reason. That you learn these lessons and have these experiences. So in the end, I stayed in the UK for 4 years. Not just one. I just realised I wanted to keep travelling. I wanted to keep working and having these experiences that I had over there, because it ended up being such a brilliant time in my life. And I came back a very, very different person. Able to go out and go out with people either I didn't know, and I wasn't too self-conscious about me anymore. I was confident about talking to people, being around other people, getting to know other people, which I think is really important as well. And then that comes back to you as well. And yeah, just had some amazing experiences just travelling and working around the UK and Europe and other places in the world as well. So just follow opportunities that come, take chances. What might seem very difficult in the beginning, or when you're considering or thinking about it, or someone suggests something like this, to really take on board the opportunities, because you really don't know how good it is actually going to be. And so I think that's the lesson, I guess, for myself. I wish I did learn that when I was 14, and is to go and experience different things, go and test out your comfort zone and actually push through that and go and experience different things, because it can lead to amazing opportunities and completely change your life.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah,
that's perfect. I love that idea of stepping outside of your comfort zone, and I think travel is huge for that. And it sounds like with your experience, you have to figure out where you're going to live in a new place and building up, relationships, new workplace, different things that guess you don't really think about when you're in the same place all the time. If you grow up somewhere and then you end up working there and you live there and things like that. Yeah, and I think I was recently in the US and I did my undergrad there, and I was only planning on staying for 4 years and ended up having a really good experience and stayed to do my master's. And it ended up being 6 of the most transformational years of my life. And maybe similar to your experience, I was very shy and reserved before I left. I think my family thought I was a mute at some point. But then coming back, I obviously learned, you learn how to fend for yourself, right? So you have to be able to, make friends and learn how a different country works. And sometimes it can be really scary.
Yeah, it seems like that when you're sort of planning and then you're thinking about it, but really when you get there, the excitement starts. When you do take that step and make that decision, even to start doing things like this, and the excitement builds, and especially when you actually get there and you start doing things, you go, oh wow, this is just so amazing, and more and more and more opportunities sort of come and experiences come your way. So highly recommend younger people to go and do something like that. Maybe not when you're 14, but certainly it is a very common thing to do, like a gap year between high school and university. And I think that's an awesome way to get those life experiences before you start getting into your studies, because that's pretty hectic, and then your work life.
Definitely, yeah. And I'm interested to know, obviously, your career is a lot about helping people. And how did you decide on the career that you have?
It's an interesting story. So I wasn't always doing what I'm doing now. I've been doing what I'm doing for the last 4 years. The previous 4 years to that were 3.5 to 4 years were full-time study to get the qualifications and to do this. But because I was, as I said, very and probably almost antisocial, introverted and shy, I did the fairly stereotypical job and career that seems to suit these types of people, and that's working in IT and being a nerd. So I did that for probably over 20 years. Went to university and then did a whole range of different jobs in IT. Reason why I changed, I guess, had a major change in my career was for a couple of reasons. I was doing some really leading edge IT work, and it was really enjoyable. I really liked what I was doing. I just didn't like the fact that 90% of the work was just paperwork to cover your backside before you can actually make any changes to major computing infrastructure in large national and international companies. So you've got to go through like a whole change management process, for example. So you can't just go and I need to make a change to this setting in the system or something. It's got to be ratified by your colleagues, by your team leader, your upper manager, by the change manager, and then other people in the business as well. And this sort of process used to take sort of between 4 to 8, sometimes 12 weeks before you can actually do something. And so the whole process of using IT was to try and make your life and your work more efficient and easier was actually not when you're actually working in that industry. If you're on the receiving end as a user, yes, you think IT makes your life easy, but when you're actually working in it, it's not. So I just got a little bit frustrated and fed up with the management and all the paperwork and the politics that sort of went on in large corporates that I was working in. And why I sort of looked at this industry instead was because my parents were practitioners in various alternative modalities. So my mother was a naturopath and a hypnotherapist and a herbalist. My father did acupuncture and massage and hypnotherapy as well. So I've had an interest for a long time since I was a teen. When they were studying and they were starting to practice, so they were using me as guinea pigs and as a guinea pig for a lot of their treatments and practicing and things like that. So no worries of talking about what they were doing, and it just seemed so different to the normal traditional medicine sort of approach to treating health issues. So I always had that interest in the back of my mind for a while, but it really took a couple of redundancies working in the IT area because I was doing leading edge stuff. The work that I was doing eventually sort of led to not just me, but other people being made redundant because we didn't need so many people supporting or working on the work after I'd actually implemented it. I was effectively replacing my myself and my job in what I do and others as well. So for a short period of time, I was implementing infrastructure to make businesses easier and be a bit more automated with their IT and infrastructure, but then at the expense of my job. So it took a couple of redundancies where I'd finished a project and then, oh no, we don't need you anymore, here's a check, to sort of realise that the IT wasn't really a stable and secure career, and combined with being a bit frustrated and, as I mentioned earlier, about what I had to do. So I had just one more redundancy, and then I thought, no, that's enough. I've had enough. I want to go and do something else. And I had thought of the idea of perhaps studying part-time while working, so still having the income to do that. I had tried that several years earlier, but I just didn't have any time to do that. So I just thought I'd jump in the deep end. I'd walk through that door to a new career and completely close that previous career behind me, and didn't want to go back. I wanted to make a complete change. So I took the redundancy, and just so happens that a very short time afterwards, I had come across some of the colleges that I had been checking out for courses. They were having their open days sort of within a week of me searching for them. So I went along to their open days, and they were starting the following week, and I just signed up straight away and studied full time for pretty much 4 years, and put the past career sort of behind me, and here we are.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, that's a big change. So I think that's, I compliment you on, being able to pick up a different career path and kind of go with it, because it does take a lot of study and hard work. And, I think there's a statistic about adults changing careers a bit, and I don't know how different those career paths end up being. But it does require a lot of work to be, whether it's successful or at least competent for licensing to be in those different things. I know I was interested in psychology, and with the degrees I have, even from America, they don't qualify for Australia. So yeah, it's a bit challenging, and further down the track, I'd like to be, in a different sort of area, government or something. I'll have to take up a different degree or something. So yeah, it does take a lot of work. So yeah, you would have had to do some behind the scenes stuff to get into that career for sure.
Yeah, there was a lot of study, and it was interesting that I had, I guess, one of the reasons that sort of led me to a change as well. It was just the amount of work that I was actually spending doing IT. I was on call every second week. I was working up to 65 hours a week, and not being entirely compensated for the amount of work that I was doing. And that was having effects on my health. It was having effects on my marriage. And in the end, sort of just before my last redundancy, my marriage did fall apart as well. So, and I lost everything there. So, that's another part of the reason why I decided to have a big change. And it was not just change of career, but change of relationship and location, and it was a complete turnaround of everything. And yeah, it was stressful, but I ended up realizing that I did have a lot more of a passion for what I'm doing now than I ever did with IT. IT was really it was a good stable career for someone who, I shouldn't laugh, be antisocial or very introverted, but it isn't actually a career for really such people, because it is very much a people business as well. So I did sort of improve my people skills and communications and things as I went through IT, because you've got to deal with a lot of other people to do that. It's not just the stereotype that I mentioned. I did realise I have a lot more passion there than doing IT, because I enjoyed the work, I enjoyed the money and the security of it, but I didn't enjoy the stress of it and the amount of hours that I was working. But funnily enough, I ended up ended up studying when I was full-time studying. I was actually studying in excess the number of hours that I was working and complaining about. I worked 65 hours a week last week, but I used to study and go to college, and the amount of study time and assignment time was just was huge, and I was easily spending over probably 100 hours a week doing it and not sleeping very much. It was a passion. It was easy. It was easy for me to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And when things are easy, or when you're on that, what I believe is when you're on the right path to what you should be doing in your life, your things are actually meant to be easy for the most part.
Definitely. Yeah.
Definitely got a lot more passion for what I'm doing now than ever, which is
That's great. And it sounds like you've done a lot of, different things, from changing career paths and, just life changes. What would you say has been your greatest lesson in life?
I think you have to, similar to what I mentioned before or when I was traveling, when I decided to travel overseas, I think you just got to believe in yourself. And that's come through in several major sort of turning points in my life. That was one of them. I had the belief in myself that everything would work out, everything would be fine. Going to a new country, not having really any possessions, not really knowing anybody, not having a job to go to, but believing that things actually will work out, and they did. Also believing myself in losing my career or putting my career behind me and taking up another one. The belief there to actually follow through with that was a huge step, I believe, as well. Still had a lot more learning and growing to do, I suppose, even in the last 10 years while I was studying. And then one of the things I realized that I really wanted to do was in this new career was just not just reach one person or be able to help one person at a time in individual consultations to help people and improve their health, but actually reach a lot more people. Just a couple of the ways that I've been wanting to pursue was to reach people perhaps more a speaker or an educator, or in that sort of a role with presentations, talks to corporates, community groups, people who are interested in particular topics. And so I can perhaps educate and empower people about the importance of looking after their bodies and looking after their health. As we're all getting older, it becomes a bit less easy to do that. But I just wanted to reach more people. So I was still a little bit shy, a little bit introverted, but nowhere near as much as I was when I decided to go to the UK, which actually was 20 years ago this year. So I realized I wanted to do public speaking and reach more people that way. So I needed to get some more skills in that, and I decided to train up on that. I did go through Toastmasters. I spent several years with Toastmasters as a very cheap but very effective way of helping me to gain, again, more confidence in myself and skills in being able to empower people and reach out to people in presentations and talks. So I did that for a few years, and I did get that confidence very much so from doing that, and deeply thank the Toastmasters organisation and the people that I went through with for helping me with that. And so that by the time I actually finished my qualifications as a nutritionist and naturopath and herbalist as well, that within a couple of weeks of me completing my qualifications, I was out doing presentations on a number of different health topics to community groups, to gyms and other organisations. And I've lost count of how many I've done since then.
Yeah.
Before then, like even only a couple of years before that, even before I decided to do this, to get me to go and do a public speech in front of colleagues or even people I knew, the thought of doing that would have been just dreadful. It would have been horrific, and I would have done everything I could to avoid doing that. So again, to having that belief in yourself, that actually want to improve yourself, and actually taking steps to actually do that, I think is a huge lesson. And it's been, I guess, those would be the three key things in my life that have, I guess, really made me who I am now.
Yeah, definitely. That's perfect.
I think I've got a little bit way to go, but I think a greatly improved version of myself compared to the past.
We're all a work in progress. That's for
Yes,
sure.
exactly. Yes.
And I think, from when you're young, you might not realize it, but yeah, as you get older, you have, like you said, those opportunities. And I think it's really important what you said about, well, firstly, to believe in yourself, because without that, then you're not really sure where you want to go with it. And you'll always look around at other things, but then definitely to take action, because without that, it's just a dream, but you're not really moving towards the things that you want. So I think that was a really good example. And I know we've spoken about a few things that you've sort of been through and changes that you've had. What would you say has been your greatest setback?
The greatest setback really, the main one, probably the only one really, would be the fact that my marriage fell apart, and the fact that I perhaps didn't see that happening earlier. This happens for many different reasons for different couples, but it wasn't entirely my decision. I realised in looking back and didn't quite see it at the time when I was actually there and in the moment, I guess. Looking back, not long after it sort of happened, I realised that it really was, for the most part, it was my work that was getting in the way of the marriage and the amount of hours that I was putting in, and not just because I wanted to put it in, but put into the work, but it was just forced on me or expected of me because, to be honest, I couldn't trust some of my colleagues to do the work, perhaps as well as I would have done. And also there were colleagues that just didn't want to do the on-call, so there was a lot of hours above and beyond that I put in. And yes, that impacted on my relationship or my home life, because a lot of that extra work had to be done from home in the evenings, because you can't do major IT changes to systems during the day when people are using them, so they've got to be done after hours, and it wasn't really allowed to be done until sort of after 6, 7 or 8 o'clock at night. So, and sometimes it would go on for many hours, and sometimes I'd work right through the night. So, yeah, that didn't help, but it wasn't the only factor. With that, I mean, I've got 2 children, or I had 2 very young children at that time, ages 2 and 4, and my wife had. Now my ex-wife had postnatal depression, and that's what I really didn't see, or what I really didn't recognise at the time, and until perhaps too late. I didn't realise that was what was going on. I'm not 100% sure she knew. I suspect that she did, but she just didn't mention it. So the communication there, perhaps at that time, wasn't ideal from both of us, and one thing led to another there with my ex-wife deciding that she didn't want to continue anymore. So of course from that, losing our house and investments and many other things after that, but which I still haven't really recovered from financially. So the setback there really was about, I guess, a lesson in communication, and then that's been, I guess, a lesson, I guess, right through my life, from being so introverted and shy and really not communicating with people particularly well when I was younger, but then that got better when I went to the UK and communicated then better with other people. Came back very different, and then that led me to eventually meeting someone and getting married. I still needed a lot more learning around communication right through the marriage and even beyond that in my life. So the setback really there was to perhaps another lesson there is to if you're not sure, ask. Talk to whoever you may have issues or with. Just communicate. You just don't know, and you won't know anything unless you do communicate with other people. And even if that person's your partner, it is such an important aspect of not just our career, but our personal lives, our friendships, and. Are you still interviewing her? So that's the biggest setback there really was around the marriage and all the other ongoing issues that come from a separation and divorce, especially when there's children involved and houses and finances and investments. Perhaps I wish I communicated better back then, but that was still a work in progress, and I wasn't ready to be the best communicator at that particular stage. So
we all make mistakes, that's for sure. And I think there's so many times when I was younger and still young now, I guess, but the idea of communicating, you think, oh well, if I don't talk about it, maybe it'll just go away, or maybe it'll just sort itself out. I don't need to say anything. But over time, I guess, it just becomes this sort of growing beast, and a lot of relationships have broke down not just for you, I'm sure for many people, based on that sort of concept. And I'm reading a book at the moment about, they call it crystal clear communication. And when I first saw it, I thought, oh, that's so silly. Why would they call it that? Why are they making a big deal out of this? But yeah, you sort of realize that the more clearly you can communicate things with people, and maybe it's not always perfect, I guess, hopefully, you hope for a good outcome. You might not always get the best one, but yeah, it is a work in progress. And yeah, it sounds like a challenging time for you that you went through. And so I'd love to kind of flip it around. And what are you most proud of, Russ?
Probably really the similar things that I've already mentioned. I'll see if I can come up with some more, but I'm really proud of myself in being able to, or having made those decisions in the past, those three main key areas of my life, going to the UK initially just for 1 year, ended up being 4, trusting myself to do that. So I'm really proud of myself for being able to step up and out of my comfort zone to do that, to change my career, completely put the past one, previous career behind me, because this has definitely been more of a passion. And despite the queries and the questioning of oneself about, is this really the right thing that I should be doing? But in the end, yes, it obviously was the best decision to make and to do that. But and even out of what seemed like despair at the time, when the marriage was falling apart and eventually did, there's always a lesson in whatever the circumstances might be. You might not see it initially, and you might not think there's going to be a good lesson out of it, and it might be really, really hard to take or to deal with. But I am pretty certain that if my marriage actually had survived and still had survived, I guarantee that I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now. I'd still be stressed. I'd still be overworked. I'd have health issues that I was having when I was working in that area as a result of the stress and everything as well. I'd probably still be there, suffering and going through all of that. So despite the setback, I'm still very pleased about where I've come in my life. As I said, I'm still a work in progress. I've still got a little bit of a way to go to get to where I want to be, to be able to help more people in what I'm doing. Every day at the moment, when I'm working, when I'm seeing my clients, when I'm seeing the results that they get, where they perhaps haven't had their health issues resolved perhaps in the past by their doctors or whoever, and then finally getting the reasons why their health has been the way it is, but then getting a holistic treatment plan that covers everything, including all of their root causes of their health issues, which is how I work. Find people's health, the root causes of all their health issues, and then treat that, and that helps everyone to come back to health again. Really pleased that I've had all of these experiences, all these lessons in my life, for good or bad. Makes me the person that I am today, and then being able to utilise all of those experiences that I've had in the past and to be able to help people with what I'm doing now.
Definitely, especially when a big part of your message is to influence a lot of people. So to be proud of yourself and the work that you've done to get yourself there, that's really important. And especially for young people, as you were talking about before, just taking the risk to kind of step outside of your comfort zone and do something that might be different, whether it's joining a sports team that you aren't sure about, or taking up art or music, or something that's different that you might love but you're not sure about. It's important to do those things, or you'll never really know. If you have an opportunity, or whether it's a hobby, or whether it's just something that you did for a short amount of time and now you want to do something else.
Or if it's certainly in the case of my industry or what I'm doing now, but I know there's a lot of people that have a lot of health issues and haven't sort of made that step to wanting to do something about it, because it perhaps seems so hard to do anything, or to take that step to see someone to actually get some help. And I've seen that time again, and even people in their older years and having lots of health issues in the past, but then either finally make a decision that they're going to see someone, or actually finally getting a reason as to why they've had their health issues for so long. Because when I with the work that I do, I'm extremely detailed and thorough in my investigations of their root causes. That I usually do find the root causes of what's causing their health, and when that's found, the treatment and the symptoms and the issues do tend to be used as an analogy for anything really. But when you do take that step, when you do take some action on it, the result, you will get the results perhaps a lot quicker and a lot easier than perhaps that you think, because you might think it's going to be so hard, but quite often it's really not.
Yeah, definitely look after yourself and ask for help when you need it. That's a good one. I want to share with you this idea that I have, which is that from the minute that you wake up in the morning and as you go about your day, whether it's helping people through the practice or supporting your family, to the minute that you go to bed at night, I believe that everyone has their own set of values and skill set that they bring. And so I'm interested to know, Russ, what do you bring when you turn up in life? I think that everyone brings a different skill set when they turn up in life. And so, for example, some people could be really confident, some people could be really positive, some really genuine. And so if you were to, go about your day and throughout your life, what do you believe that you bring when you turn up?
With the work that I do and perhaps the work that I have done in the past, I care about being able to help people in whatever I'm doing. When I was doing IT back in my earlier days, what I enjoyed was about finding solutions to problems and being then able to implement those solutions to help people in either their business or with their technology or whatever it might be, and being able to do a good quality job in what I do, in everything that I do, and perhaps being a bit of a perfectionist sort of helped with that as well. Sometimes it's a bit of a hindrance, but and then with the new career, helping people with improving their health, I do greatly care about my clients and their health, and I really want to be able to help them get to where they want to be and improve their health and their quality of life. And I believe I'm very empathetic about their situations, and I do care a lot about people and their health to be able to do what I do and be able to help them. It's a privilege to be able to help people, especially with their health, especially when I usually see people with chronic or long-term health issues. It is a privilege to be asked by someone to actually help them, and then to get the result. It's just amazing to see.
Definitely.
I guess that's one. I think you've got to be honest and true to yourself, but to other people as well. I think you've got to be genuine, and when you helping people or advising people or giving people advice in whatever manner it might be, that you are actually also congruent and upholding those sorts of advice and doing the same thing yourself. Showing other people that yes, you're the same as them, and that they can actually do it when you're doing those same things as well. So it's sort of being honest with yourself, it's being honest with everyone else around, and just caring for people and being able to do the best you can do, as in the quality of work that you can do or that you can offer for people should be the best that you can.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, they're great qualities to have. Yeah, it shows that you have some integrity as well with what you're doing. And I think it's really important that you want someone who's honest when they're caring for your health. So there's a really great qualities. And what inspires you every day?
I guess there's lots of things that inspire me. My kids inspire me greatly. 11 and 9 now, so the two girls. Just watching them grow and experiencing life, being able to teach them through their life. Hopefully, being able to show them a lot of the experiences or teach them a lot of the experiences that I've had in the past, so that perhaps to make things a little bit easier for them. My kids are very, very high up on the list there for what inspires me and inspiring me to be a better person as well. I'm inspired to reach out to more people. I want to perhaps empower more people to take responsibility or ownership of their health and actually do something about improving their health and their lifestyles. A lot of things that we can do quite often very easily to help people with just little things in there with regard to their health. So I'm inspired there to be able to reach out and build a bigger business by regularly helping more people in that way. By I guess lots of other things as well, but I just have a belief that despite a lot of the negative things that we hear about in the media or that we see on the internet or wherever, I think there's a lot of positives that are happening in the world. We just, we don't tend to see as much as perhaps we should. The media is at fault for that, glorifying all the negatives rather than pointing out the positive things. So I think it's a shame. So I try and avoid all of those negative types of things and avoid watching the news and try and be inspired by other people, by my mentors that I have in this industry, and that they inspire me to be a better person as well. And as I said before about being a work in progress, there's things I still want to improve with myself. I've got a lot of goals. I've got a lot of huge goals that I want to achieve, not so much personally or materially, but being able to give back to other people in what I'm doing at the moment. And I realise I can only reach, and I can only see so many people in a week or a year or in my career. But I'd like to leave some sort of legacy, I guess, and achieve some goals that I have that I think will more people ongoing long into the future.
Yeah,
And
yeah, definitely.
Those goals really, they inspire me to do what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis to try and achieve those.
That's what you want. Yeah, that's perfect to have goals. I mean, it's better to go through life with goals and work towards them than to just kind of wait around for something to happen. So
Yeah, you have to. You've got to have goals, and it's a process that I think most people don't do, but should do. Have some really good processes and ways you can actually write down your goals, action your goals, and actually then make those goals actually happen. I wish I'd known about the law of attraction a lot earlier in my life as well, but there's just one sort of technique that can be used to help with that.
Yeah, awesome.
I've used in the past and more recent. So yeah, there's a lot of those things that can really help inspire me and other people on a daily basis to helping them try and achieve what they want to achieve as well.
Yeah, sounds like you're a lot about influencing and helping as many people as you can. So the fact that you're working on yourself, you're able to help people do that.
Yeah,
really great. Who would you say has been your biggest supporter?
Easily my mother, for a number of reasons. I guess I did follow in my mother's footsteps in my current career, and she was a naturopath and herbalist, and that's two of the three qualifications I have. I guess I would have also said my father as well. My father passed away quite some years ago, very suddenly, but yes, absolutely an inspiration there at the time as well. Since then and ongoing and more recently, definitely my mother with just supporting me all through my major decisions and in my life, from going to the UK to quitting my career to doing what I'm doing now and lots of other things in between. So yeah, very important to have a good relationship with your parents, and it's good for them as well. We are family after all.
Definitely, to have a good support network is really important, especially for young people who are still trying to navigate the world. And it doesn't change as you get older, but yeah, I agree. I think it's really important to have family and friends who support you.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And I guess
Okay.
as with teens, teens or young adults, we quite often don't think our parents are on the same page as us.
Mm.
And perhaps there's differences of opinions and different things. But I think as you do get older and a little bit wiser, you do realise that your parents had your best interests at heart and for good reasons. And
Mhm.
quite often you think back and go, yeah, well, actually, yeah, they were right in what they say or what they said, and what they perhaps stopped you from doing. Yeah, the family and support network is absolutely huge.
Yeah, definitely. I would love to wrap it up and just thank you so much for your time today, Ross. It's been really great to hear your story. And the three takeaways that I got from our interview today that I hope our audience was able to resonate with was, first of all, just your idea of stepping outside of your comfort zone. I think that's really important because there's so many of us that have things we want to do, but we might not act on those, which is part of the other takeaways. So believing in yourself is really important and taking action, but also that we're all a work in progress, right? So just being aware of that and being okay with that is a message that I got from the interview today. So thank you for your time today, Ross.
Thank you, and you're welcome. Great to talk to you.
And if our audience wanted to connect with you, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
My name is Ross Walter. I'm a nutritionist and naturopath. You can find me on my website, which would be my name, so Ross Walter, walter.com.au, or my Facebook page, which is Ross Walter, nutritionist and naturopath. So I write regular health articles on there, and you're most welcome to find me and follow me on there, and I can help you with your health, whatever issues you may have. I'd love to be able to do that.
Yeah, if you enjoyed the episode today, be sure to leave us a review on iTunes and